ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्बोद्धूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ वर्स् 23 कूटस्थे कल्पिता बुद्धिः तत्र चित्प्रतिबिम्बकः प्राणानां धारणा जीवः संसारेण संयुज्यते। So Vidyaranya introduced the main topic from verse 18 to 21. We saw that introduction. And then what is the topic? Topic is Chaturvidha Chaitanya Prakriya. But actually with that Prakriya, with that method, he wants to arrive at the aikyam between the Jiva and Paramatma. And for that he took an example of a fourfold Akasha also. And they are, Ghatakasha, Jalakasha, Mahakasha, Megakasha. And correspondingly four Chaitanyam, four consciousness also. And that is Kutastha Chaitanyam, Jiva Chaitanyam, Brahma Chaitanyam and Ishvara Chaitanyam. Now, after that introduction between verse 18 to 21, now in from verse 22 to 103, Vidyaranya is taking up the first pair for analysis. What is that pair? Kutastha Chaitanyam and Jiva Chaitanyam. Kutastha Chaitanyam means we have seen Adhara Chaitanyam. Jiva Chaitanyam means Abhasa Chaitanyam. So basically Abhasa Chaitanya Viveka at micro level is the first among other topics. So that is from verse 22 to verse 103. And if you take example, that is called Ghatakasha, Jalakasha Viveka. Ghatakasha means Adharakasha. Jalakasha means Abhasakasha. So that Viveka is to be done. An example. And Jalakasha I have already told you. So water in the pot, not any other water. Water in the pot. Jalakasha means any jalam, anywhere. Well, Akasha means reflection in water anywhere on the earth. No. This Jalakasha means the jalam which is there in the pot, right? And there the reflection of the space, upper space arises, and that is been discussed here. So, he says Kutastha Chaitanyam and is Adhisthana Chaitanyam, Adhara Chaitanyam. And on that Kutastha Chaitanyam, Tatra means on that, whole creation is superimposed. So, Kutasthe Kalpita Buddhihi. So, Kalpita. So, it has been superimposed. Buddhihi means Sukshma Shariram, etc. has been superimposed. So, we have to take both the Shariram, Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram. Both are superimposed upon that Kutastha Chaitanyam or Adhara Chaitanyam. Which is, we call they are Vaivarika Satyam because they are Mithya actually. They are superimposed upon Kutastha Chaitanyam. And why he got the name Kutastham? Well, he explained also Kutavat Tishtati, it is Kutavat Sthitaha or Kutavat Tishtati, either way. So it is Kutasthaha. Kuta means anvil, and we saw that example of a blacksmith. So blacksmith is making he is flattening the rod with the hammering, etc. And so he is using hammer also, using anvil, he is putting the rod. And basically, so every other thing other than anvil changes, right? Every other thing. The rod is changing, the hammer also, and his hand also is changing. I mean, there is a change, there is a movement. Anyway, so this anvil does not change. So that is Kuta does not undergo any change. So basically, same here also Adhara Chaitanyam does not undergo any change. It is Nirvikara, and therefore here, so Adhara Chaitanyam is called Kutastha. And in verse 23, he gives a definition of a Abhasa Chaitanyam. Actually, Adhara Chaitanyam we have seen in verse number 22. You can see where it is. So it is said, Kutavat Nirvikarena Sthitaha Kutastha Uchyate. So Kutastha Chaitanyam, Adhara Chaitanyam has been already been defined in verse 22. Now, or Adhara Chaitanyam has been defined. Now here in verse 23, Abhasa Chaitanyam called Jivaha has been defined. And so, well, he says of these two bodies, Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram, basically he mentions one thing, and that is Buddhi, means Sukshma Shariram. So, Sukshma Shariram, because why, when you say both the bodies are included in Abhasa Chaitanya, why you are mentioning only Sukshma Shariram? Because of a certain unique capacity of that Sukshma Shariram or Antakaranam to form that reflection. That's how he is mentioning that. But we have to take it both, because the Sukshma Sharira extends totally into Sthula Sharira. Here every cell, even every cell which is a part of the gross body, also contains a Sukshma Sharira in form of at least one Indriya, and that Indriya is a Tvagindriya, and that is there, right? And therefore, but Swamiji, suppose if I touch that particular part and you don't have any sensation, should I tell that the Sukshma Sharira is absent there? No. No. Only Sukshma Shariram remaining even there, that Tvagindriya remaining even in that part of the gross body, in that particular part, is not able to function. Please understand this. Don't say Sukshma Sharira is absent there, because you don't have any sensation of touch, and therefore Sukshma Sharira is here Indriya. Tvagindriya is absent. Never say that. It is present. Whole Sukshma Shariram with all the limbs, 17, 19, whatever you want to say, it is present in the body. But basically that particular part of the Sukshma Shariram is not able to function even remaining in the gross body, Sthula Shariram, because of karma. Never say Swamiji particular out of 19 elements of Sukshma Shariram or 17 elements of the Sukshma Shariram, this particular Janma in my life, certain parts are absent of Sukshma Shariram. Never say that. Never. A whole Sukshma Shariram is present, not able to function due to prarabdha. And that's how sometimes doctors, his prarabdha is weak, then they are able to bring out the function of the Sukshma Shariram. The person is not able to see, they can make the person see. He is not able to hear, they can make him hear. That shows that Indriya is present there. Indriya is present, it is obstructed. It is obstructed, remaining even in the house. It is not able to function because of a obstruction. Obstruction is due to prarabdha. And so when the Sukshma Sharira lives, it lives completely. Therefore it gets a new body. Then in new body, his prarabdha is very nice, and so there is no obstruction. Then he is able to see, hear everything. So if it is absent here and then it goes to another body, well then that Sukshma Sharira will have the absence of that particular part also in the another body. But that won't be there. And therefore, this whole Sukshma Shariram is present, but it is not able to function. And Sukshma Shariram, well, basically becomes conscious, and therefore gross body becomes conscious. So Sthula Sukshma Shariram are superimposed upon Kutastha Chaitanyam along with that reflected consciousness. So Abhasa Chaitanyam includes both the bodies. Kutastha Chaitanyam is free from everything. So he says, Kutasthe, he is defining Abhasa Chaitanyam called Jiva. Why Abhasa Chaitanyam is called Jiva, that we saw yesterday, and I am telling you again. Why Adhara Chaitanyam is called Kutastha, I have already told you, because it doesn't undergo a change. Why Abhasa Chaitanyam is called Jiva, we are seeing, and of course I told you yesterday also. So Kutasthe Kalpita Buddhi. So because of this avidya or maya, buddhi is superimposed upon this Kutastha Chaitanyam. Tatra chit pratibhimbakaha asti. Pratibhimbakaha. So kutsitarthe kaha. So that chit pratibimba is there, and that is very small, right, in the buddhi. Buddhi is there in the head. Head is there as a part of the body. Body itself is a very, very, very limited entity. In that, the head is very limited. In that, buddhi is again limited. In that reflection. So that's a small reflection to indicate that he is telling not chit pratibimba. He says chit pratibimba kaha. It's like balaha and balakaha. So balakaha means shishu, small, very small. Even 5-year-old I can call a child, right? A 5-year-old child, 6-year-old child. But this is a small balakaha. So balaha, balakaha. Kutsitarthi. Kutsita means here actually, it's a censurable, but here we say it is very small. Anyway, so in Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Chidabhasa is formed, and which is very small. And he is going to talk about a bigger Chidabhasa also, that we have seen yesterday. At a macro level also Chidabhasa will be there, Abhasa Chaitanyam will be there. That's called Ishvara, but this is Jiva. So very small, micro level. And Saha Jivaha Uchyate, that Abhasa Chaitanyam, means Kutasthe Kalpita Buddhi. In Adhara Chaitanyam, this Buddhi is Kalpita, it is created through Avidya. Anything creation of Avidya or Maya is Kalpana. If you create a dream world out of avidya, not if you create a dream world out of avidya. Yeah, this waker does not create a dream world. Waker is veiled totally. In deep sleep state, when the waker is totally covered, then dream world is created. Yeah, so avidya creates, not waker creates. Waker creates a daydreaming. That's a different issue. That we are not talking about right now. But waker creates a dream world when he is covered. So avidya creates. Understand that. Same way. So this Adhara Chaitanya, Kutastha Chaitanya is there, and it is veiled. It is covered due to ignorance and or Maya, whatever you say. And that is, then this Abhasa Chaitanya is created, Buddhi is created. And then Abhasa Chaitanyam also will be there, naturally. Because in Adhara Chaitanyam, something Kalpana is there. Then Chaitanyam reflects in that Buddhi due to a very fine structure of the Sukshma Sharira or a Buddhi. And definitely Abhasa will be there. So Abhasa Chaitanyam is there. Now, why Abhasa Chaitanyam is called Jiva? So, because basically it holds the prana in the physical body. So basically Jiva holds the prana in this physical body. So moment Chidabhasa decides to change the residence, prana won't remain in this body. And therefore, Jiva means to hold prana. Prana dharane, jivati. Jivati iti jiva. And therefore it holds prana in this body. So moment it decides, like in India, any government officer is there, and especially one who is working with the central government, not state governments, but one who is working with the central government, he gets transferred from, from Ahmedabad to Guwahati or Ahmedabad to Bangalore or anywhere. Then that person gets transferred, then he decides to go there, and therefore the whole family also, wife and children and all will go together also. Same way, when this Jiva decides to change the residence from this residence to other residence, the prana also also go along with that. So basically the Jiva, the Chidabhasa, Abhasa Chaitanyam alone decides to hold prana in this physical body, and therefore that Abhasa Chaitanyam is called Jiva. So Panch Pranas, they can't say, they say to Chidabhasa, okay, you go, we will be there in this body. That won't be possible. And therefore they also will have to go together. And that is what has been told in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, Mamaivamsho Jivaloke Jivabhuta Sanatanaha Manashashthani Indriyani Prakritisthani Sharirasthani The pranas, etc., and the senses and everything which are there in this body, karshati, they are also, pulled by that jiva. When jiva decides to change the residence, and so the indriyas and pranas and everything, which are part of Sukshma Sharyam, also will be pulled, karshati. Krish dhatu is there. Krish means to pull. So they are also pulled. So this is how the Abhasa Chaitanyam is called. Jiva. Prananam dharanat. Vidyaranya says prananam dharanat. They hold the prana in this physical body. But when Chidabhasa decides, or when this Abhasa Chaitanyam decides to get transferred, well, that prarabdha karma decides, and therefore, ultimately, and then it says this Abhasa Chaitanyam or Jiva is a victim of a samsara. See the second line. Samsarena saha yujyati. Saha jiva. That jiva, samsarena yujyati. This jiva, Abhasa Chaitanyam, is connected to samsara. Samsarena, bandena, karmana. Well, this Abhasa Chaitanyam or jiva is a helpless victim of a samsara. All the karmas basically affect this jiva. So, sanchita karma, agami karma, prarabdha karma, all affect this Abhasa Chaitanyam, jiva, etc. Bhuta gramasya evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate. Bhagavan said that, in Bhagavad Gita, that jiva can't protest when karma is over. Well, Chidabhasa has to leave the body. And when Chidabhasa leaves, the pranas also, which are holding, which are held actually in this body, they also live along with. And so samsara means a bondage, samsara means a karma, everything same. You all can connect actually. So because of karma, there will be travel. Travel is called samsara, etc. And then once they travel, go to other place, there also there is sukha dukkha will be there, pleasure and pain will be there. That is called samsara. Travel is called samsara. Travel is possible because of karma, so karma is called samsara. Karma is due to what? Kartrutvam is called samsara. So, could you follow what I am saying? Everything, sometimes samsara they call it as just samsaranam. Samsaranam is samsara. Samsaranam means samyak saranam. Very well, nicely, he slides down from one body to the next body, to the next body, to the next body. And so very nicely, very smoothly transfer. Yeah, that's there. But that is due to what? Oh, that's due to his own karma. But his karma is due to what? Oh, it's due to kartrutvam. Kartrutvam is due to what? It's due to ajnana. Ultimately, everything is samsara. So anything you can call samsara. Anytime, whatever, as per the reference, we will call samsara. Sometimes we call samsara means a bondage, sense of limitation. Sometimes we will call samsara means a karma. Sometimes we call samsara means sukha dukkha experience. Sometimes we will call samsara means next janma. Everything is ultimately connected. All are connected. So don't get confused. Sometimes they say samsara means this next janma. And sometimes they say samsara means avidya. What is this? This is all connected. And therefore, either of the thing we can say. And so, basically, and this Chidabhasa, basically, anyway, so this Sukha Dukkha, etc. experience, next Janma, all this is there. So, samsarena saha abhasa chaitanyam yujyate. Jiva is connected, yujyate. Yuj dhatu is there. From that word, yoga, etc. also has come. So, yuj means to connect. So, he is connected, affected by samsara. And this Chidabhasa is a Vyavaharika Satyam. So, well, we can say karma is a Vyavaharika Satyam, we can say travel is a Vyavaharika Satyam, we can say Sukha Dukkha is a Vyavaharika Satyam. And so remember that from standpoint of a one mithya, another mithya is called Satyam. From the standpoint of one mithya, another mithya is called Satyam. Just as from the standpoint of a one dream body, the dream fire is Satyam. Could you follow what I am saying? From the standpoint of a dream body, dream fire is Satyam, because dream fire is capable of hurting the dream body. So, Jiva Drashtya, samsara is Satyam. Jiva Drashtya, not to Brahma Drashtya. Not from the standpoint of Brahman, samsara is Satyam, from Jiva Drashtya. So, you can ignore samsara as a mithya when you raise your level from Jiva to Kutastha. That's how we are discussing. We are doing this from verse number 22 to 103. What we are doing is Abhasa Chaitanyam, Adhara Chaitanyam distinction, or Kutastha Jiva distinction, or discrimination, Viveka. What is Kutastha and what is Jiva? That discrimination is done for what sake? So that we can raise our level from Jiva to Kutastha. When we raise our level to Kutastha, that samsara which is affecting that Jiva will not be affecting to this Kutastha. Why? Because samsara becomes mithya. And then definitely Kutastha is a satyam, and that Jiva is mithya, and therefore the samsara also becomes mithya. So from the standpoint of Jiva, samsara is satyam. From the standpoint of a Kutastha, samsara is mithya. And samsara is all sukha dukkha experience and all problems, right? And therefore, ultimately to make ourselves free from these problems of samsara, etc., free from samsara itself, well, we are doing this discrimination. So from standpoint of Jiva, you cannot brush aside, this your problem basically. Anyway, so you can raise your level after understanding that you are Kutastha, etc. Anyway, let's go to verse number 24. Jalavyomna ghatakashah yatha sarvastirohitah tatha jivena kutastha sonyonyadhyasa uchyate. So this is a problem, Jiva faces is this Vyavarik Jiva, the Chidabhasa, Abhasa Chaitanyam, and Paramarthikas Chaitanyam, that is Adhara Chaitanyam or Kutastha, both exist in one place. Kutastha and Jiva exist in one and the same place. Same plane, or you can also say. So it is not possible for us to separate actually. So yatra chidabhasa vartate tatraiva chit vartate. Wherever the chidabhasa is, the well chit will be there. So because of their coexistence in one locus, basically they are mixed up. Just coexistence cannot mix up, but then there is ignorance also. So coexistence of Adhara Chaitanyam and Abhasa Chaitanyam is there, and so we mix them up. And Shankaracharya ji begins this Brahma Sutra with this mixing up of two things. That's a confusion that he explains also there. So he uses a special name. Bhashyakara uses a special name in Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, introductory Bhashyam called Adhyasa Bhashyam. And he uses a special name for this mixing up of Adhara Chaitanyam and Abhasa Chaitanyam. And he says it that Satyanrute Mithuni Kritya. Mithuni Karanam means mixing up. A mixing up of what? Satyam and Anrutam. Satyam and Mithya. Mixing up of Adhara Chaitanyam, that's Satyam, and Abhasa Chaitanyam, Mithya. They are mixed up. They cannot be mixed up. They cannot be mixed up. They appear as mixed up. That's due to avidya. That's what agatita gatana patiyasi, which can never happen, has happened. That is what it is. Which can never happen. When mixing can take place between the two objects of a same reality, which are in the same plane. And that's how we give an example. A dream girl and a waking boy cannot, they cannot marry. So that's just a dream. They cannot marry. So the status of that person who is a waker now, that boy, cannot change his status from a brahmachari to grihastha. Say, because yesterday in the dream I married. Ye kya baat hai? What is this? So he cannot. So therefore the two different orders of reality cannot have a mixing up. So Adhara and Abhasa, how can it be possible? A reflection of sun and the sun, they are mixed up. Ye kya baat hai? One does not exist independent. Two independently existing things have a same reality and they can be mixed up. They can be mixed up. Well, one is basically totally dependent upon other for very existence itself. Where it is Abhasa means it is definitely depending upon that Adhara for its existence. So then how they can mix up? But as though they are mixed up, right? Therefore, as though mixing up, what is responsible for that? Ignorance. Right? Ignorance is, but how can they mix up? If they are independently existing, then you can bring them together. You say they don't exist together. That's what I am saying. They are mixed up because they are non-separate. They are really non-separate. What is non-separate from what? Adhara Chaitanyam is non-separate from Abhasa? No, don't say that. Adhara is independent. So we can't say Adhara Chaitanyam is non-separate from Abhasa. Abhasa is non-separate from Adhara. That's better. But ultimately it is mixing up. Both are in the same plane. So both mix up and we get into problem. Jivena kutastha tirohitaha. This kutastha is a lost sight of because of Jivena, because of this Abhasa Chaitanyam. Adhara Chaitanyam, because of this Abhasa Chaitanyam, Adhara Chaitanyam, or kutastha is disowned. Like what? He is giving example. Jalavyomna ghatakashaha iva. Our akasha drishtanta is there. Jalavyomna ghatakashaha iva. So like jalavyom, vyoman means a space. Jalavyomna. So that jalakasha. So like that pot space, ghatakasha, that is pot space, is lost sight by jalakasha, that is water space. I mean the space reflected in the water. So in pot there are two spaces. One is Adhara Akasha, Ghatakasha, which was all the time there, which was there. So when you put water into that, then we will get a new akara of that water, and means then, and that the space will be reflected, and that space has all kinds of vishesha, attributes. Remember that samsara, all attributes, and therefore that Ghatakasha has no attribute. When the pot was empty, when you have not filled up the water, that Ghatakasha was there. But how can you say Ghatakasha is there? Somebody asked that question. How can you say Ghatakasha? Then how can you fill water into that? Water goes inside, water gets accommodated. That is Akasha. That is how Nayayika defines very well this Akasha. So basically which accommodates is Akasha. That's how they define. Which accommodates everything is Akasha. Avakasha pradadrutvam akashasya lakshanam. That's how they define lakshanam. The definition of Akasha is avakasha pradadrutvam. Avakasha here means an accommodation. Avakasha pradadrutvam, which provides an accommodation. So when you pour water, so water gets accommodated into the pot. Therefore, there must be a space, even if before you pour the water into that. That's called Ghatakasha. So Ghatakasha is already there. In that you add water. And now the space, Ghatakasha has no vishesha at all. Now when you add water, then the upper space gets reflected along with the clouds, along with the stars, along with the moon, along with the sun. So that space is with all vishesha. Moony space, sunny space, right? And then starry space. This is my addition. Starry. So means along with the stars. So all that visheshas are there. And so Ghatakasha tirohita. So this Ghatakasha, the pot space is concealed now. It is covered. It is lost sight of. So just as pot space is concealed by Jalakasha and reflected space, and Jalakasha steals the show. That is how it is. What is temporary, what is duplicate, steals the show. That is where everywhere this is the problem. In all the fields. Original does not know how to market itself, And so let's say music, arts, etc. or knowledge everywhere. This what is duplicate has a lot of viewers, and then original has only 20 views, 30 views, that's all. And then what is duplicate has a 20,000 views or 2 million views. That is how it is happening. So basically this original does not know how to market itself. Any field. This poor Brahman does not know how to market itself. Adhara Chaitanyam doesn't know. And so this Maya Devi, it knows how to market itself. And so poor Brahman feels lonely yet. So tatha, so Jalavyomna Ghatakasha iva. Like this Jalakasha conceals the Ghatakasha, which is in fact Adhara, which is a Satyam, is concealed by this duplicate, by the Abhasa. And so if Ghatakasha is not there, if a pot does not have a space, how the water will be accommodated? If water is not accommodated, there will not be a reflection of a space in water, right? So Jalakasha exists, that is Abhasa Akasha, exists on account of Gata Akasha, but it covers now. Duplicate steals the show. Tatha Jivena Kutastha Tirohitah. So Kutastha is concealed same way. Tatha means in the same manner. Like pot space is concealed by this Jalakasha, the space reflected in the water. Same way now this Kutastha also, Adhara Chaitanyam, is concealed by this Jivena, by this Abhasa Chaitanya. And this process in which we miss this Adhisthana, Adhara Chaitanyam, and take the Abhasa, this process of missing and taking is called mistake. Miss plus take. Missing what is original, missing the Gatakasha and taking Jalakasha. That is called mistake. Taking Jalakasha means what? Taking Jalakasha is the only reality. That is called mistake. So missing the Kutastha and taking Jiva as a Satyam is the mistake. Missing and taking take place. Or else confusion. Consistent fusion of this Satyam and Mithya. Consistent fusion of Adhara Chaitanyam and Abhasa Chaitanya. That's a problem. So when you say I, it's a confusion. I is a confused entity. Really. It has both. And you miss the Kutastha here and take Abhasa, Jiva as a reality. You ask anybody, his introduction, what he tells or she tells about herself or himself is nothing but all pertaining to Jiva only. Never about Kutastha. Not even for the sake of saying also. We are going to see what the difference between ignorance and that Avarana Shakti we are going to see. He very beautifully is bringing out. Avidya and Avaranam has a difference. Anyway, we'll see that. So, consistent fusion of this Satyam and Mithya is called confusion, actually. Let's go to verse number 25. Ayam jivo na kutastham vivinakti kadachana anadira vivekoyam mula vidyeti gamyatam. So, Vidyaranya, casually mentions this word Anyonya Adhyasa, right? Anyonya Adhyasa. So Anyonya Adhyasa means basically superimposing upon upon each other. But here means mixing up of two, Adhara Chaitanyam, Abhasa Chaitanyam, mixing up of Kutastha and Jiva. So that's called Anyonya Adhyasa. But he casually mentions that. Shankaracharya takes up this very elaborately in a Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, and that's called a confusion between a substance and properties, we can say. If you remember, I am using this word purposely because we have already discussed all these things in the second chapter. So both the things, which is really a substance and the properties, both are mixed up together. So it's a mutual confusion between Abhasa Chaitanyam. Abhasa Chaitanyam has properties. All attributes belongs to Abhasa Chaitanyam. And actually, Adhara Chaitanyam has without any attributes. Substance, which is Adhara, in fact, it has no attributes. So, mutual confusion between substance and the properties. And because of this confusion, I am Jiva, this Jiva, Kutastham na kadachana vivinakti. This Jiva basically, distinctly understands his own Swarupam, his own Adhisthana. He is not able to understand his own Swarupam, his own essence, his truth, his nature. He doesn't understand. And it looks all around except down below. So he doesn't know at all himself. Kadachana. Kadachana means at any time in life. So he has gone through millions of Manushya Janma, but Jiva has never understood his own nature, which is Kutastha, which is the reality he has not understood because of this mixing up. And mixing up is there, but then ignorance also is there. And therefore you miss one thing and take other thing. So, very fact that this Janma continues itself is a proof. And every Janma, we have all Visheshas, as a jiva itself we continue this. So that shows that we never understood ourselves properly. That I am a kutastha, etc. I am not never understood. That's how he says, I am avivekaha anadihi. So this aviveka, this non-discrimination between kutastha and this jiva is timeless. Means missing the kutastha and taking myself as a jiva from which point? Well, it's beginningless. So this confusion or mistake is beginningless, and this is called Mula Vidya iti gamyatam. This is called Mula Vidya. So timeless aviveka or confusion of jiva and kutastha is called ignorance. So may it be understood by you, iti gamyatam, may it be understood by you that this is called Mula Vidya. See, this is how he defines avidya or Mula Vidya, same thing. He defines that what is that definition? That a timeless confusion, timeless non-discrimination, timeless mistake of jiva and kutastha. They are all the time together. Mithya Satyam will always be at one place, naturally. Pot and clay cannot be at a different place. It will be at one place only. An ornament and gold cannot be at a different place. They will be at one place only. But missing one thing and taking other as a reality is a problem. That is beginningless. That is called Mula Vidya. Please understand that, because now we will be seeing what is avaranam, etc. also. So this is, not recognizing kutastha as distinct from jiva is called Mula Vidya. Understand this very well. Not recognizing, I am using once again, not recognizing kutastha as distinct from jiva, is called Mula Vidya, which is beginningless. Now let's go to verse number 26. Vikshepa vritti rupabhyam dvida vidyas vyavasthita navati nasti kutastha ityapadanamavritihi. So gradually he is progressing now from Mula Vidya to further. So he says Mula Vidya has a twofold Shaktis. One is a Avarana Shakti, concealing power, and Vikshepa Shakti, projecting power. False projection, understand that naturally. Because once it is covered, then what is projected upon it will be false only. So Avarana Shakti means a concealing power, Vikshepa Shakti means a projecting power, false projecting power. So avidya, dvida vyavasthita. Now he doesn't use word mula. So instead of saying Mula Vidya, he says avidya. Avidya dvida vyavasthita. The Mula Vidya exists with twofold aspects, twofold function. And what are they? First is a Avruti Rupam, and other is a Vikshepa Shakti. So Vikshepa Vruti Rupabhyam. So that is this is the third case. And this is Itham Bhute Trutiya. So this Mula Vidya exists in two forms. That's all. Don't hear say third case means by and etc. etc. This is in the form of, yesterday itself I have given you example. In the form of as. Mula Vidya exists as, or Mula Vidya is in two forms. It has two aspects. One is a Avratihi, that's called Avarana Shakti, and second is a Vikshepa Shakti. And now he is going to define both. First, Avarana Shakti. He says Avarana Shakti is that power which generates a particular, please understand, I will explain you with words later. Avarana Shakti is that power which generates a particular mental thought and particular verbal expression. It generates a particular Vishesha Shabdaha, Vishesha Vritti, Vishesha Pratyaya. So basically it generates a particular thought and generates a particular verbal expression also. So what is that particular expression? What is that particular thought? Well, we will see that. So whichever the power of avidya generates a particular words and particular thoughts. What kind of a thought? This particular thought is in the form of a negation. Negation of existence and negation of experience of an object in front. Here Kutastha Chaitanya. So basically Mula Vidya does what? Whereas it has twofold aspects, twofold function. First is Avruti, means Avaranam. Avaranam means what? Avarana is a Shakti. Shakti means it generates something. What it generates? It generates a particular thought and generates a particular verbal expression. What is that particular? This thought is a thought of negation. Negation of what? Negation of what is in the front. Negation of Kutastha Chaitanya. So, this Avarana Shakti generates a negation of a thought, negation of existence of particular thing. Negation of existence of what? Negation of existence of Kutastha Chaitanya. And also verbal expression of negation also, that there is no Kutastha, etc. So, negation of existence and experience of object, that is here Kutastha Chaitanya. So, Kutastha Sattvam, Kutastha Bhan Nisheda Vritti. There are 4 things I am going to tell you. So, I negate existence and experience of Kutastha. Not only at a thought level, but at a verbal level also. So, in my mind, it is clear. I mean that there is no Kutastha. And I don't experience Kutastha, and there is no Kutastha at a thought level. At a verbal level also 2 things. I tell that I don't experience Kutastha, and therefore there is no Kutastha at verbal level also. 2 things at a mental level, 2 things at a verbal level. What is that? Negation. Negation of what? Negation of existence of Kutastha and negation of experience of Kutastha. In my mind, I am clear. I don't experience Kutastha, and therefore there is no existence of Kutastha. And at verbal level also 2 things. I say also, I don't experience Kutastha, and therefore there is no Kutastha. Could you follow? 4-fold things are there. So these 4-fold things are generated due to avidya, Mula Vidya. Mula Vidya means what? I have already told you. Not recognizing Kutastha as distinct from Jiva is called Mula Vidya or Avidya. That Avidya has twofold power. And the first is a Avarana Shakti or twofold function. But it generates something. Therefore we call Shakti. And that is Avarana Shakti. What is Avarana Shakti? Avarana Shakti is that power which generates this particular mental thought of a negation of Kutastha Chaitanyam, existence of the Kutastha Chaitanyam and experience of Kutastha Chaitanyam, and verbal expression also of non-existence of Kutastha Chaitanyam and non-experience of Kutastha Chaitanyam. Could you follow? That's what he is explaining. So, Sattva Nishedaha, Bhana Nishedaha. Bhana Nisheda means not experiencing. A Nisheda means a negation. Negation of what? Bhanam. Negation of experience. Experience of what? Kutastha. Negation of experience of Kutastha and negation of existence of Kutastha. And that's how people say. People say there is nothing called Brahman because I don't experience. They say also, and they are clear in their mind. Not that they are saying for the sake of experience, for the sake of saying. Could you follow? They are clear that I don't experience Brahman and therefore there is no Brahman in his mind. And he expresses also at the verbal level that I don't experience Brahman and therefore there is no Brahman. That shows Mula Vidya is there. Mula Vidya's Avarana Shakti has generated these 4-fold things. 2 at a mental level, non-existence of Kutastha, non-experience of Kutastha at a mental level, non-existence of Kutastha, non-experience of a Kutastha at a verbal level also. So that is what he is telling. Sattva Nisheda at the Pratyaya level and Shabda level, Bhana Nisheda at the Pratyaya level, Pratyaya means mental level, and at a Shabda level, verbal level, All these are generated by Avarana Shakti. You can call Avruti. He says Avruti. Avruti I am translating as Avarana Shakti because you are familiar with that. And I am telling it as a Shakti because it generates this kind of a thought, right? Thought of a negation of existence, thought of a negation of experience of Kutastha and verbal level also. So, and see now in the shloka, na bhati na asti kutastha. So, see, he's right, first telling na bhati means bhana nisheda is been told first and then existent nisheda, na asti. So, iti, this twofold nisheda at the thought level, well, na bhati means in his mind, I don't experience kutastha. That thought is there. And therefore, there is no existence of kutastha. That thought is also there. So, na bhati na asti kutastha. This kutastha is, the kutastha is not experienced or I don't experience kutastha. And na asti kutastha. And therefore, there is no existence of kutastha. Naturally, when you don't see something at all the time, at any place, under any condition, you will say it is not there. What a big deal. And therefore he says, na bhati. It is not that I experience the existence. No. First you say, well, you experience something and then you say it exists also. So, na bhati na asti kutastha. This power to generate this, apadana, this kind of apadana, this kind of a vyavara at the mental level or at the verbal level, in which, at the mental level there is a thought of a negation of kutastha, and thought of a negation of kutastha at, experiential level, existence level, well, and that is called apadan. That kind of a vyavara, that kind of a transaction is called avruti. So either you say avruti, either you say avarana shakti, same thing. So this power to generate is called avarana shakti. Whereas Vedanta says kutastha is sakshi and experience of sakshi will be always there. Without sakshi there cannot be any experience. Nobody can question sakshi Chaitanya. To question sakshi, you should be sakshi, right? You should be kutastha. Kutastha means which does not go anywhere. It is all the time there. Pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. Okay. This is impure, right? All visheshas. Jiva is with all impurities, all types of visheshas. That's how our nose also becomes like that. When we hear about some person, we do like this. So that kind of a thing, that's for jiva. You cannot do for adhara. So for kutastha, you cannot do. Yeah, definitely. So Sakshi Chaitanyam cannot be negated. But this fellow, I don't know. So experience of Sakshi Chaitanya cannot be negated. Everything you experience is due to this Sakshi. Sakshi's existence and Sakshi's experience can never be negated. But this champion negates that. Due to what? Due to that Mula Vidya. That is how they call Agatita Ghatana Patiyase. Very unique situation which can never be negated. Is negated. And from beginningless time. And all the time he says, I am Jiva. All the time. He never, for the sake of saying even, he says, I am Kutastha. What a glory of this avidya. You see that. Agatita Ghatana Patiyasi. I am purposely telling this. This is very famous in Vedanta Sampradaya. Whenever they talk about Maya or avidya, they will say that. Agatita Ghatana Patiyasi. Which can never happen, has happened. Gat dhatu is there. Gat means to happen. It's like, an event kind of thing. That's how Ghatana. There is a word called Ghatana. Ghatana means an event. So Gat dhatu is there. So Agatita, which can never happen, Gatitam. Well, Agatita Ghatana Patiyasi, which is very clever to bring out something which has never happened, which is not going to happen. It appears as though it has happened. That's how it is. So in fact, you cannot miss Sakshi. You cannot miss this Kutastha. And therefore, but as though you have missed from beginningless time, and you take yourself as a individual, jiva, abhasa chaitanyam, all the time, janma after janma, you tell this. Now he explains this avidya and avarana shakti difference, etc., in the next shloka. Just we'll read that. Let's read the next. अज्ञानि विदुषा पृष्ठः कूटस्थं न प्रबुध्यते न भाति नास्ति कूटस्थः इति बुद्ध्वा वदत्यपि. Here a difference between avidya and avarana shakti are nicely presented. This is Vidyaranya. You will never find in anywhere in Upanishad or any text a difference between an ignorance and this concealing power. Is very nicely present here. Ajnani kutastham na prabudhyate. Ignorance does not know kutastha chaitanyam. Ajnani means ignorant person does not know kutastha chaitanyam, mula vidya. And so he doesn't talk it about also. Like one rickshawala is going from this road, right? He doesn't know also what is this kutastha, and he doesn't talk about it also. So this thing is there universally. Every human being which is born, he doesn't know there is something called kutastha, and so he doesn't talk about also. So this invocation of, he doesn't know. That's called mula vidya. But then when somebody asks him, when Jnani comes and asks, Jnani means the person who knows kutastha, comes and asks that rikshawala, do you know kutastha? Oh rikshawala, do you know this kutastha? Then a thought is generated. Oh, I don't experience kutastha, and therefore there is no kutastha. Avarana Shakti. Clear now? So this is Avarana Shakti. And he not only that thought, at a thought level he says, at thought level this thing is there. Negation of thought of existence of kutastha, negation of, thought of a negation basically of kutastha, existence of kutastha, and thought of an experience of a kutastha also at a mental level takes place when somebody asks him. Till then, nothing. He even doesn't know that there is something called kutastha, he doesn't know even existence of kutastha, he doesn't know even experience of kutastha, nothing. That's avidya. But somebody asks, vidusha prushtha, when vidusha, by jnani, well, if this is asked, that do you know kutastha chaitanyam? Then when a question is asked, an event happens. And then this ajnani thinks in his mind, I have never experienced kutastha, so there is no such thing as kutastha at a mental level. And then he says also to that jnani, well, that there is no, I don't experience kutastha and therefore there is no kutastha. So at a vritti level also, first bhana nisheda means I don't experience kutastha at a vritti level, at a mental level, and then sattva nisheda. Therefore there is no kutastha, there is no existence of kutastha. So this is called avaranam. Avarana Shakti got activated when question is asked by Jnani, Vidusha Prishta. Nisheda Vritti takes place. Not only that, later he uses Sattvabhana Nisheda Vritti before. Sattvabhana Nisheda Shabda also, Vakyam also, words also. So generation of these four, right, is called Avrutti. Sattva Nisheda, Bhana Nisheda Vrittihi, Kutastha Bhana Nisheda Vrittihi, Kutastha Sattva Nisheda Vrittihi, Kutastha Bhana Nisheda Vakyam, Kutastha Sattva Nisheda Vakyam. Four things are there. What is this? I have already told you. Kutastha is Kutastha. Bhanam, experience. Nisheda, negation. And Vrittihi, thought. So in his mind he thinks, I don't experience Kutastha. That's the first thing. In his mind, second thing, there is no Kutastha. And both the things come at a verbal level also. I don't experience Kutastha. Those words and Therefore, there is no kutastha. That those words also. Four things are there. These four things which are generated from avidya, from mula avidya, which is beginningless, is called avarana shakti. So, from mula avidya, avarana shakti is generated in three steps. First, Ajnani kutastham na prabudhyate. This ignorant person does not know kutastha chaitanyam, mula vidya, that is called. Second, Ajnani vidusha prushtah. This Ajnani, ignorant person, is asked by the Jnani of a kutastha. That is second. And third, kutastham na bhati na asti iti buddhva. So, and then na iti buddhva, by after knowing this, so he entertains this vritti that there is no, I don't experience kutastha and therefore there is no kutastha, and that is called avarana shakti. And then it is expressed that nisheda of sattvam and nisheda of that dhanam experience also, vadati api, well, he expresses at a verbal level also. This is a first power of a mula vidya. What is it? Avarana shakti. Now we will go to vikshepa shakti tomorrow. But this is Pancadasi. It's not that simple. Vidyaranya is going to raise some question for this, what we discussed, and he has to answer. Then we will go to vikshepa shakti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.